Okay. Greetings from internationalism. We talk about justice, justice as a perception of rule of law and good governance. While we talk about justice, we often talk about civil criminal justice system, mostly of the citizens. Citizens' rights, mostly we talk about contracts, social contracts between people and government. Often we generally talk about sovereignty of people. We often go to the extent that people have as a masters. And often we talk about also as a minorities justice, maybe that minority be a ethnic, religious, or racial, or national. So, but do we talk about military justice? We do, but often rare. Those persons are the one who let us sleep peacefully at night. Because of this person, they stands ready to violence on those who harm us. So today, in this session, we'll be talking about the military justice system in India. Greetings. I am Nikhil Dangol, along with my uh, colleague, Miss Aryakumari Raja, as a moderator, and today we have our special guest, Lieutenant Colonel retired Prasant Mishra, sir. So, so
Hi.
he is an he is a master's from science in electronic and communication engineering from Wildham University. He is an APV engineering at Vihan Network Limited. Uh, From 2018, he was head of strategic engineering division of Tata Powers Company Limited and also a program manager military decision and support system and tactical messaging solution at Bharat Electronic Limited. And most importantly, an Indian Army, and he believes that nation comes first always and everywhere. We heartily welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Over to Ajay.
Okay, so thank you, sir. At first, a hearty thankful greetings to you that you are with us in this panel. Sir, yes, today we are just going to discuss about the military justice system in India. So, I will
Okay.
request to you, sir, uh, can you please give a brief about the topic, like how military justice system works, what are its provisions, and what is the rules and regulations in just 5 to 10 minutes? We just need a brief about the topic and then we will question for the question answer session. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So actually, the Indian, I'll talk about the Indian Army, and it is similar for the Navy and the Air Force also. We evolved from the British Indian Army, and mostly from the Second World War onwards. A high level of military law and other doctrines were evolved, wherein there was a requirement of putting in the conduct, controlling the conduct of the army personals. Uh, Whereas during the war times, we were faced against the enemy, and there were certain international conventions like Geneva Conventions, other things that were applied. But when we started facing the proxy war situations in Jammu and Kashmir, in Nagaland, Nagaland was the first insurgency that we faced actually. So in the 1957 and 58 onwards, uh, where there was a proxy war being conducted by a foreign nation, and which required a different way of dealing uh, with the framework of justice. There was a doctrinal change, and there were evolution of the MIML, we call it, military law. It is a book which contains all the legal aspects of how and what is to be done under what circumstances. It gives out in high detail a lot of examples, and this kept on evolving. So in 1993, there was a inclusion of this human right portion of it, so that the human rights cells were established all across. In fact, in March 1993, the first human rights cell was established in Army headquarters, and it was much later that the Ministry of Home Affairs and other people started establishing similar, the Human Rights Commission and all those things started coming up. So military law has been there with us for a very long time, and there are reasons why the military law has to be there, and it cannot be done away with. While there is a civilian law also which is existing, and those reasons are the ones that are because of the way in which we are employed and the way in which we are conducting operations in today's warfare. As I told you, the proxy war, it requires a different way of dealing with the legal cases. So in very short, that is what is the state of military law, and that is how it has evolved, and there is a well-established doctrine in the Indian Army, or the armed forces, I can say.
Thank you very much, sir. So yes, indeed, there was a different system of law. So let me first go to the questions of ours. So the ongoing argument globally for military justice operating is parallel to their civil counterparts. Is predicted to be on a commonly had view that commonly civilian judge typically lacks the necessary expertise in military affairs. So what do you think on this, sir?
So you see, the civilian law system has been established based on certain framework, and the framework that has been established over there is such that the criminal procedure requires a certain number of steps to be taken before it actually reaches even the first hearing takes place. Sometimes the complaint getting converted to FIR, and then that reaching the requisite authorities and getting queued up in the court and getting out with the decisions. I mean, that is so. As I told you, in the civilian structure, every major army in the world have their own military justice system, and the very reason they have it is because the speed of justice in the normal civilian courts and the civilian MACMA is very slow, and you can attribute the reasons to many things. Maybe it is the lack of purpose, or maybe there is too much of red tapeism, or there is too much of interference from political bosses, or whatever is the reason. The speed of justice in the civilian system is not fit to be actually adopted for the armed forces. And the way it happens in the armed forces and the way it happens in the civilian side of it, the only difference is the speed. And I don't feel there is, I would say the amount of paperwork that is done in the even the shorter period of time in the armed forces is still much more than what the civilian courts do. In some of the cases, you will find that there are pages and pages of descriptions which are there in the various processes that we have in the justice system in the armed forces. The civilian system, though, is okay for its purpose for which it is made, and it requires a lot of reforms, which they are trying to do. For a big country like ours, where there are millions of cases and they have to be resolved, and fast track courts are set up for special cases and other things. How many fast track courts can you keep on setting up for, let's say, disappearance of a person in Jammu and Kashmir, which is not attributable to the army guys, and it is a proxy war which has been done by a group of mercenaries. So you get a group of a platoon, 35 guys going to the civil court and getting stuck up for 5 to 10 years. I mean, then you will have half the force getting stuck up. And most of the time, what we find is that it is much easier to get a case, a illegal part of case also getting legalized from the civilian side, where there are people from the armed forces who have been removed from service because of misappropriation of, or because of certain injustice done. And they have gone to the civil court, and they have asked, and the civil courts have told the army, please reinstate them. So there are evidences which are existing to the contrary, that this guy was responsible for misconduct. So there are problems there which don't fit into the military framework, and these problems need to be analyzed. It will take a lot of time. There are a lot of reforms that have been thought about, and I think if they take a cue from how the military justice has evolved itself from the First World War, then Second World War, and independent India and beyond. And you look at all the military forces, whether it is United Kingdom or any of the European Armed Forces Act, you will find a lot of evolution which takes place. We keep on getting the new versions of these books of military law off and on.
Okay, sir. So I personally agree with you, whatever you have just told. But sir, one point like you told, the slow justice system. Yes, sir, I completely agree because in India, in civil justice system, we just see that there are cases that is pending in the Supreme Courts and the High Courts more than 10 years and more. Like time is just passing away and cases are pending so much. So, sir, before proceeding to the second question related to this topic, I like to take your view upon one topic. We all know regarding the Kulbhushan Jadhav case, sir. In this case, we all know Kulbhushan Jadhav is still in Pakistan jail, and there was some judgment from the International Court of Justice regarding the fur of India, and there were so many conflicts that is going upon. So it's a long time, like more than 2 to 3 years. It's already he is in Pakistan jail as well. So, what do you think, sir? Isn't it a very slow justice system? Like, isn't it like there is the injustice happening to Kulbhushan? And what do you think, like military justice system related to this case? And what is your view upon it, sir?
You see, what happens is that when a case happens in a foreign country, or a case happens, let's say, officer of the Indian Army was involved in an accident when he was on leave, and and people got killed, and he's booked under the Indian IPC rule, and when the civilian court takes over, what happens is that the things become very difficult. Uh, till the time there is the system, the armed forces system, has the things in its own control. It's okay. So if you look at Pakistan, Pakistan is a rogue country. I mean, where is law over there? The country doesn't have an army. The army has a country. Over there, they have taken control of this, and it's our civilian system, the international people who deal with the international law and all those things. They are the ones who are trying to get access to him, and they are the ones who are trying to find out, which the Pakistanis are not allowing. They are harassing them. They are not giving them his access. So if there was, I mean, if it was a Israeli guy or a US guy, things would have been different. They would have gone in and they would have done something different. But we do not do like that. We are still not a very hard state. So when you talk about Kulbhushan Yadav is more of a international case of injustice that is persisting due to the failure of legal system of Pakistan, and it has got nothing to do with military justice system.
Yes, sir. I completely agree, sir. I mean, this is the case like I am seeing from my when I was in a very small stress. I am thinking like when it will be over, and let's hope for the best, and hope this case will be solved soon. Yes, sir. So I like to proceed for
Yeah.
the second question. Sir, in Ukraine, we know, like the system of military courts that has been abolished in 2010 with the adoption of the law on judiciary and status of judges. So usually we know that military justice system may be recognized as the uh, post-conflict situation or or in a post-authorization context. So what kind of reformation do you think like our country needs to be adopted in relation to this?
See, Ukraine, if you go into the history, Ukraine was a Soviet, in the Soviet Empire. It was a part of Soviet Empire, and thereafter, so they did not have a proper justice system. And after it became an independent country, it's a very small country, first of all, and secondly, it is still influenced a lot. I mean, it doesn't have a proper democratic setup in place like you have in India. I mean, in India, you can speak against the state. Try and do that in Ukraine. So, what I'm saying here is that there are big countries with big armies. We are the second or third largest defense forces in the world, and we are involved in types of conflicts which are very, very different from the other regions. And being a very big army, and the number of operations, and the kind of way the things are going on, I don't think the Ukraine model applies to us. It may be when our justice system has evolved to a level where we can proceed in a super fast fashion like the military law proceeds. Maybe that is the time when we can think about that case.
Yes, sir. Indeed, sir. Every nation have an indigenous justice system as well. So if we take then reference to some countries like constitutional court plays a prominent role in limiting military jurisdiction with regards to human rights. For example, like Colombia and or have an equal contributed to strengthening their judicial independence. Like for example, like Turkey. So usually these types of court decisions may trigger efforts to reform military law as well. So how could you categorize such an approach while taking the Indian justice legal system as in purview?
So what I understand from this is that how does the civilian justice system and its uh, control by the lawmakers impact the justice, and how does that impact the military justice system? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So effect.
So you see, there is the lawmaker. The lawmaker is the parliament, and there is the executive, which has to implement that law, and then there are other arms which get involved, like the justice system, which gets involved when the law is broken. In this entire thing, you are looking at different agencies, different ministries, different controls. Every state has different police head reporting to the chief minister, and that police, like in the current case of Sushant Singh Rajput, the guy, the police special team which came from Bihar was not allowed access, and they were quarantined. So when you look at the independence of judiciary in India, it's very independent, largely independent. But the arms of executive, which actually have to be effective before the judiciary comes into play, like the police force, they are not so independent. They have their own political masters who have their agendas. And it is those people who have to be made more independent. The day they are independent and the reports are filed properly and everything is done as per the procedure, I think the judiciary will itself become very strong. In fact, that is one model that exists in the Indian armed forces or the armed forces of the world, where all these three wings are in a single, under a single control. And but still, the judiciary, the lawmaker and the law implementer, and they have their own independence. And like we have the military police in case of the Indian Army. In case of any civilian criminal cases involving the armed forces, they are the ones who actually handle the civilian, and they are the interface between the civilians and the armed forces guys. And it has evolved. It has not been tarnished, despite having a single control and despite having a very strong hierarchy where you have your reporting. Despite that, the Indian the military system is very, very, very independent. And you will find that there are people who go against the army and they win the case within the army. I mean, they have gone, if their promotions were held up or they were wrongly punished for something, uh, they have taken those recourses, and there are so many avenues open to them to, and they have still not, destroyed the hierarchy. So it's possible to have a judiciary which is independent, and the executive, which is also independent, and both of them complement each other.
Yes, sir. The last point you told, like the independent judiciary and independent executive. So yes, sir. This is the most important thing we should adapt. Okay, sir. So I like to proceed for the next question. So, how should be the offenses be connected to the military service? Like, should military jurisdiction be limited to violations of the service duty? So, what is your view upon this, sir?
Sorry, there was some disturbance in the voice. So can you just repeat the last
Yes, sir.
sentence?
Sir, I just asked that how should be the offense be connected to military service? And I asked that moreover, should military jurisdiction be limited to violations of the service duty?
Okay. So you see, the military law takes into account everything. Uh, there is probably a misunderstanding that the military justice system is only applied to a person when he is on duty. No. If even if he's at home and he does something which is illegal, the military law applies to him. So that is the answer to the first question. And uh, no, it should not be. Your second question, should the military jurisdiction be limited to violation of service duty? No, it should not be limited to violation of service duty only, because service duty is just about maybe 50% of the time you are on service duty, or maybe 70% of the time in certain areas, and rest of the time you are at home, or you are on your personal task, or you are on leave. So it cannot be. It has to be holistic. Let's say there is a army guy who has gone on leave, and he gets beaten by a group of people, and they frame him. Then what happens? Will the military law not apply there? No, it will apply. What happens in those cases is that the military police immediately, the military police of that. So we have these. Every station has a military representative, and they go, they take possession. So you cannot keep an army guy in police custody. Uh, he will immediately be released from police custody, and he will be taken to the army custody. He is on leave, but something has gone wrong while he was not on service. Not on service means he was not on duty. He was not manning the post. So it has to apply to his whole life. So army is a way of life. Army is totally that 24/7. You are always on duty.
Yes, sir, obviously. So there is a different law between peacetime and wartime, no, sir? So in India, there was a frequent skirmish in one part, or it may evolve as a more of a cross-border kind of attack in some part, but in some part there might be some peaceful thing. So do you think that the categorization that the international humanitarian law, or sometimes human rights, the categorizations of peaceful time or peacetime or wartime can be a little bit irrelevant? Do you think it is be a kind of irrelevant to context of geographical big countries, beautifully huge countries like India?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. There is no distinction. So the war nowadays is being fought everywhere. It's on your phone. It's on your television. There's a proxy war going on. I mean, the three warfare theory of China: media, legal, and psychological. The war is being fought everywhere. So it becomes irrelevant to actually divide it between wartime law and peacetime law. And actually, there is nothing like that existing, other than the Special Forces Act, which is provided to safeguard the military personnel when they go on when they're deployed in counter insurgency areas. Now, what is that? That is just an act. It's an act of the parliament, and it's the parliament which actually declares an area as coming under a special kind of a condition. So in those cases, again, I told you that when we have, let's say, Indian Army has shortage of officers, 40,000 officers, and then you start having wrong framing of officers wrongly in cases, and they get stuck up in these cases, and which goes on for years and years. So how do we handle the shortage of officers? Uh, so there are no distinction. Firstly, the military law manual remains the same. It's only that act which gives you the power to, let's say, search a house, and there's a process that is involved, that there'll be a police personnel with you, and that the search warrant has to be issued by this thing too. So the entire whatever the distinction that is being actually thought about here is not the distinction in the military law or the justice system. It's just a special power that has been given to the armed forces in certain areas where the proxy war is making it difficult for them to operate properly.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So I'd like to proceed for the next question. We know that the matters of the honor of distinguished soldiers that have been decided in such a filmy fashion lately. Like, so where do you think the cacophony of Indian media that leaves the Indian military justice system?
Hmm. So uh, we are actually aware about this problem that is occurring, and the explosion of social media and Twitter report travels faster than any other thing nowadays, and the way the certain soldiers and officers are uh, embroiled, and they are wrongly implicated and in fake news and other things. I mean, even let's say for a soldier, honor is a very big concern. And if his honor is disturbed, even for a period of 24 hours, it's enough to demoralize him. He will not. He is putting his life into danger. He is taken an oath that he will lay down his life for the country, and for him, honor is everything. And that is one place where uh, the social media needs to be actually either we educate our people if it is possible, or we have a method of taking out these fake news from spreading and destroying the honors of soldiers and officers. You're right.
Indeed, sir. Yes, the social media had been our most coverage, controversy, contemporaries of this time, starting from the Arab Spring, and now it's what could we expect from it? So from the social media, it has itself become a platform as well as a place where to induce tension between even to between countries as well. So I
Yeah.
believe that. So moving on to India in itself, so the military justice system as it exists in India today, as I have researched, there has not been an incorporation of the basic principles, human rights principles like the right to bail, the legal aid to the accused, or some double jeopardy. So, do you think there is a time to update these the laws that were enacted even after even before the independence, or do you think what may be the reason for this enactment, or do you think it be further amended these laws?
No, the military justice system is absolutely fair. There's nothing wrong with it. It has evolved. It is not the same military justice system as it was in 1947, firstly. Uh, in 1993, it evolved to incorporate, as I told you, human rights cells, and they have spread across all the cantonments, all the formations today. And there is a system that exists for reporting human rights violation, where anybody can go and simply report it. And and a very transparent system is adopted to inform the reported case back to the person who's been harmed, as to what were the actions taken. And if that doesn't happen, then there is a he can go up, right to information, and all those things apply. But what happens is that most of the times it is being seen that you falsely try and implicate. Most of the time, I mean, there was some statistics that was coming out that Amnesty International keeps on reporting that there are human rights violations, and not even one case of human rights violation done by the Indian Army has in Kashmir has been tried out in civil court. I'll give you 10 cases where the human right violations were addressed. The army personnel was removed from service, and he went to the civil court, and he was the civil court told it to be reinstated. So it's a perception that is being built by people who don't understand what military justice system and how it works. Uh, I will not agree to that fact that it has remained as it was earlier. It has evolved a lot. Does it require more evolution? Yes, it does require more evolution. Does it need implementation in a different fashion? I would say that the implementation is taking place. There is we just need to educate our people. They are being educated. There are a lot of training that happens in a lot of training establishments, from non-commissioned officers right till the officers, and right till very senior officers. They keep on doing a lot of training on each and every. There are study cases that are done on these. Some of the human right cases that happen within the armed forces, which are not revealed to the outside world. But yes, should they be? Should there be a reform somewhere? That possibility always exists. I would like to add here that our chief, during the Operation Parakram, that is after the Parliament attack, when we went in, General Padmanabhan, he used to tell one thing, that we will change the way we change. We are human beings. As human beings, you just can't re-engineer the entire genetic system. Similarly, the army has evolved over hundreds of years. It has changed. It has changed for the better. I've seen it as a child. My father was in the army. I've seen it as an officer, and I've seen it changing for the better always. And there used to be times when I used to feel bad about things, and there are times when I now feel very proud about things, the way things are now. So a lot of changes have taken place. Some more changes are possible, but change is a way of life. We should take it in that way.
Yes, sir, totally agree with you. So, sir, actually, I have recently read a blog post. I would like to mention what was written there. I'm reading it. That was written that Indian military justice system is an anachronism, as it is totally derived from what was promulgated from a colonial army for the expansion of the colonies by the colonial power, and not suited for the citizen soldier for a democracy which should be believed in liberal values of the human rights and protection of the state from usurpation of the state. So, sir, this is something I found very confusing. So, what is your view upon this? Do you agree upon this point or not?
So I absolutely regret that this thing has come out, and the way it has come out. It's very bad. I mean, no, that is absolutely not true. There is no colonial military law that is existing in the Indian military forces. Yes, it is existing in Pakistan. That is why the army owns the country. It is not existing in India. During the after the 1971 war, there were people in the parliament who used to tell Indira Gandhi that Manik Shah is about to take over from you. And so she called him one day and asked him that, General, are you planning to take over from me? So he told her that, do you feel that I will work better than you? Your nose is also long, my nose is also long. Only thing is, I don't put my nose in others' affairs. And he says, I have got no interest. I'm telling you, after serving in the army and after being out of it, and meeting even the youngsters, I keep on going to the academy, and National Defense Academy, Indian Military Academy, and I keep on meeting captains and young majors and all that. I mean, they're totally disinterested. None of them wants to grow up one day and take over from the politicians. They hate it. They just don't want to look into it. Nobody. They are already full up their sleeves with a lot of work. We have got our own problems of shortages of officers, shortages of so many things. The way we are handling You might have seen that in CAG report, that the faulty ammunition being supplied by the ordnance factories, and the INSA's rifle which was supplied, and the way we handled a war with those faulty rifles for such a long time. So we have got so many problems of our own. Why? I don't know who's put in this. Even if it's an ex-army officer who's put in this, then it's you always have black sheeps, not in the right spirit.
Yes, sir. So moving on to next question, like, how do you think, apart from this, yes, obviously there's some kind of evolving or evolves. Everything is evolving day and day. It is obvious that. So, uh, so apart from this, how do you think justice could be dispensed effectively, respecting the individual dignity while maintaining the arms discipline in the armed force?
So there is this dilemma that remains, that you are given an order, and that order you feel from inside is against justice, let's say your sense of justice, and you want to go against it. You have got the full rights to go against it. You can stand up and tell your commanding officer, I'm not going to do it. And that is what is happening. That is what started happening long ago, when I have seen the army change, where the junior officers, educated officers, and it's been happening since people like Manik Shaw. Manik Shaw used to tell no to Krishna Menon, who was the defense minister. So what is the discipline if, and that time he was just a colonel who's just become a brigadier, and he would have never risen actually if Menon would have continued in office after 1962 war. But he stood his ground, and Menon ordered inquiry against him, and he was called when he was there in the Army Wellington Staff College. Menon had once asked him, when he was in the army headquarters, that what do you think about the chief, General Thimaiya? He said, sorry sir, we are not taught to pass our views on our senior officers. You can ask this from him himself, or whatever questions you have. So Menon took that personally. So when he was posted to the Army Staff College, he ordered an inquiry, because General Manik Shaw took out some old photographs which were there of the British viceroys and all that, which were wonderfully done, but they were there in the dumps. And he just put it on the walls, and he just ordered an inquiry. This guy is a British spy, or he's a British loving guy. So, but it failed. Nobody went against him. So there is discipline. Within the discipline, there is justice. And there is justice, and within the justice, there is discipline. So if you watch the movie Shaurya, or you watch its English counterpart, A Few Good Men, you will find that even to stand up to your seniors, you need courage. That courage is built into us when we are trained.
Yes, sir. I completely agree with you. Like the point you said, where is discipline, there is justice. Yes, sir. That is absolutely right. So, yes, sir. I like to proceed for the next question. Sir, we all know that military justice system is self-contained. We all know that. So, do you think like that prone to corruption or something like that? And do you think like should offenses of the military justice that are the back to be declared void? So what is your view upon this, sir?
Uh, so when you look at military justice system, it's got multiple levels of representations. Let's say you have been wronged by a certain court, and you want to go to the armed forces tribunal, or you want to go to the Supreme Court. There is a process by which you can actually put a, I mean, fight against a unlawful decision given by the justice system. So what I would say, that the entire process is so beautifully structured, and it is evolving, so that all the loopholes and gaps which are there, which are being used by, because you see, we army people also come from the same society, and some of us may not be, you know, be, all of us are not alike. There are possibilities that a justice has been denied to a person. There are possibilities that exist, and but they have been corrected. I've seen it in my own life, and so the only thing that we need to know about the military is that because we are courageous, we are trained to be courageous, we have a very strong sense of justice, and whenever we are failed of justice, we have processes which help us out to declare it void. The old decisions are turned back.
Yes, sir. So till now we have discussed about the structures, about the prevailing things. So let me move a little bit further about technology. Like, how can the technology improve the military justice system? About what could be the effect of artificial intelligence? What could be they would be used? They can be used, or some kind of what could they be to clutch into one and move ahead?
So artificial intelligence is a wonderful stuff, and I think there is a lot of application that is there possible in the military justice system. Whereas we have implemented projects in the Indian Army for using the artificial intelligence for planning operations, for aiding commanders in taking the right decisions. Similarly, the AI has a lot of future in law also, because there are so many statistical aspects that come into effect when you're looking at a difficult problem to be solved, which AI can do much better than any other technology that is there.
Okay, sir. So I like to proceed the last question itself, the session. So, what do you think, like the future of artificial intelligence, with related to Indian Army? And sir, what do you think, like if artificial intelligence is going to be completely implemented a grand way in Indian Army? So, what should be the functioning and how it is going to affect our judicial system? Yes.
So artificial intelligence as a large part of it is being used, and there are more usages possible, especially for operational planning, for medical emergencies, for psychiatric help, for and also now, as you have stated, that there is a lot of scope that exists for using AI in legal options, throwing out legal options in front of the judge or the people who are fighting the case. And the good part about artificial intelligence is that it is unbiased. It can be made unbiased after a due process of maturing the technology. The bad part of it is that sometimes it may require the compute power which may not be available at the remote locations where you don't even have voice communication. Forget about data bandwidths connecting backwards to some central supercomputer or something. So yes, but we require AI in a form, especially for let's say the legal part of it. AI in a form which can let's say, I'll give an example. Read the eye movements of a person when he's talking and detect whether he's lying. Detect the tone of the voice of a person and over a period of time conclude whether he's suffering from a post-traumatic syndrome. And hence whatever he's saying now is actually can harm him. Tell a judge at one point of time that actually the process that is happening now should actually fall under following section and not under this section. It is being wrongly conducted. So there are various ways in which the implementation of AI can take place. And the army is looking forward to it in a very big way. The chief of defense staff has already made number of statements that we want AI coming in. But as of now, most of the AI has come only towards the sensor grid, towards the intelligence part of it, towards the operational planning part of it.
Obviously, sir. Yeah, even if AI is an impactable, like inevitable part, but it cannot obviously replace humans. That yes, we should reap the advantage or benefits of AI in the Indian military as well as in the justice system, thereby eliminating its negative impact. I totally agree, sir. Over to you.
Okay, so sir, I think we are already done with all questions. And overall, like to give my last comment. Of course, like Indian judiciary system that is going good, but there are some reformations needed. And moreover, one thing sir just told, like where there is perfection, we just need perfection. We just need our patience, and that is the way we can go for a better judiciary system as well. Uh, and besides this, regarding the implementation of artificial intelligence, I would like to say that, of course, artificial intelligence is a very, very important part which should be implemented in the judiciary system of military judiciary system as well. And that would make a greater India as well. So finally, I would like to give a vote of thanks to
Thank
Prashant
you.
sir. Like he just came to our this panel and enlightened us with his beautiful words, sir. Like the session was really, really very, very important and very, very, really beautiful, sir. We have just talked about many, many important topics, and that was really good, sir. So, sir, thank you so much for supporting us, for coming to this session, and thank you to Nikhil also for assisting me in this session as well. So, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot, the entire team. Good, keep doing good. You people have a strong sense of commitment, and that is what is important in the young generation of today?